Buenos días, buenas tardes, y buenas noches. Bonjour, bonsoir. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case, of course, it is August 12th. And chosen background of the day, if I get my big fat head out of the way, is a control point. It is a road that is accessible only to certain vehicles in the Teno, Buenavista area of Tenerife. And this is interesting because there have been limited or traffic restrictions, a limited amount of traffic and specific traffic on this road for quite some time. If you look at the map of Tenerife, it is beyond, if you're going up that road from Santiago through Masca towards Buenavista, you go right to the top of the island, and then to the left, that kind of headland where there's a lighthouse is called Punta de Teno. But Teno, Teno, the same name as the national park where Jay's body was found, sure enough, there is a road that has limited access, and you can see by the sign here that taxis are an exception, and I think the local Tizza bus service is an exception. But otherwise, here is a control point where I guess only the residents or those that have a good reason to be up there are allowed to go along this road. I mention all this because we were wondering just yesterday or the other day how it could be that that expat guy that told us so confidently and it seemed reliably that the Masca Road up in the Teno National Park area had been closed off on the Saturday when it is claimed Jay's body was found. How he could have said that, because he himself said, I've never been up to Masca. I don't know Masca, but I've been told that road is now being controlled. It is being, regulated, that traffic flow is for locals only. And some of us were saying, well, how would he know that? He doesn't know Masca. Is this a rumor he's going off? And then all of a sudden, another case popped up today, which I'm going to comment on in just a minute, popped up where I saw this picture and Noah said, yes, keep in mind that there is a road that has restrictions on it in the Teno area. It's not Masca, it's beyond Masca, but it's that corner. It is the same area of Tenerife. And I'm just wondering if that expat guy got the wrong end of the stick, sort of thing. That someone said, "Oh, up there they have road restrictions. There must have been road restrictions on that Saturday." You know, People say things, and you think you've totally grasped it. You've got it. You repeat it to someone else, but it's not exactly what they had in their head when they told you originally. Chinese whispers. It could also be that that expat guy is a total fibber and just wanted to create mayhem. I don't know why he said that, but I'm just saying it is a little bit weird that the day after talking about that, we see this, access closed, and yeah, that there is your perfect Tenerife closed to only locals road. Maybe that's what he was actually reporting about when he tried to say the road past Masca through Masca and in the area where Jake's body was found was actually closed. I don't know. I don't know, but it's worth thinking about. And on that note, before we get to the story about this guy called Brandon, not the Brandon from Burnley, but another Brandon, local guy that disappeared and was found dead in this area. Before we get to that, I just wanted to comment on what's going on with this whole Saturday. I'm stuck on the Saturday when Jay's body might have been found. What's going on with this whole tip to the Coast Guard? Because I think some people think that that is a given, that that actually did happen, and it might have done. I don't know. But when I think back, I don't know the sources for, I don't know the totality of the sources that have come and explained how that tip happened. We certainly have Team Luggy featuring the Pumpkin and featuring Adrian, who, as far as I know, well, I don't know about Adrian, the silent one, but Chris and El Slugtardo are absolutely adamant that Jay's body was found following an anonymous tip off that came from them, I think. Have they confessed to that? Did they say it was an anonymous tip off that they gave? That the Coast Guard were alerted after a tip off from them or an anonymous tip off. But who else has said that? Because I would suggest the word of Pumpkin and the word of Slugtardo are, I mean, very, very, it's not something you should just take on board. You should not dismiss it, but you should think, is this true or not? What is in what is it to their benefit to lie here? And often I find with Pumpkin and Slugtardo, there's an enormous benefit to just lying in their whole "we found Jay" story. So apart from El Slugtardo and the Pumpkin, who else came out and said it was through the Coast Guard that Jay's body was found? Is it only this expat guy that said in conversation with someone from Coast Guard surveillance, he found out that a body had been found? And I do question that. Who exactly was he talking to? In what circumstances? Were they having a bit of a laugh and a joke in a bar and too many beers were flowing and the Coast Guard guy said, hey, guess what? Guess what was found today? Um, I don't know. You see, I think both groups of people are unreliable. I think this expat guy, from what he said, if he's got this wrong about the road being closed and where it was closed, if he's got that wrong, he might have got it wrong about the Coast Guard. I would say Pumpkin and Ivor are extremely unreliable. So is there another source? Because I might have missed something. I'm honestly saying I might have missed something. There might have been something put out there in a Facebook group, or I don't think the Guardia Civil ever said, of course, they were alerted via a message to the Coast Guard, because I think the Guardia Civil have always said it was on the Monday that they found Jay's body. And it was just through a persistent and yet discreet search that they were carrying out, even though they told the whole world they're not looking. That was their story that they found. Nothing about Coast Guards, nothing about someone stuck in a man trap, nothing about anyone helping them. It was all Guardia Civil did it all on that Monday, just before the Dutch team were edging their way down to the point where Jay's body was found, apparently. That's what I understand. Now, if there's another source to this whole, the Coast Guard got a tip on Saturday, show me, send me, or just tell me where you think you heard it, apart from this expat guy that mentioned the road being closed and Pumpkin and Ivor. If they're the only sources, I'm beginning to think Coast Guard weren't involved or might not have been involved necessarily. All right, so let's get to this story of Brandon, who went missing and was found dead. It's another strange one. As someone said, it is for a relatively small island, a place where an enormous number per capita, it seems, of young men just go missing and then found dead, or just reappear after a few days. Nothing to talk about here. So the article that I posted on my community post, not only this picture, but Noah found something in on a Facebook page called Canarias Te Quiero, Canaries, I love you. And on that site, Canarias Te Quiero, it talks about this guy, Brandon, 26 years old, and he went missing yesterday. So ayer, martes, yesterday, Tuesday, madrugada, very early in the morning, and he was found only hours later. Well, we're hearing about it now, and I first was alerted to this by another follower on Tenerife. So, not to get you confused, but we have Noah Man on the ground in Tenerife, but I have another person who I will keep anonymous for now. If he or she doesn't mind, I will keep them anonymous for now. But it's that other person that said, hey, take a look at this. Missing person, but now found. So yeah, my second Tenerife source found this, sent it to me, and then found hours later in a steep. Now this caught my ear. In a steep area, I can imagine the kind of ravine type effect, steep area or cliff type effect, a steep area. De difícil acceso, difficult to access. I mean, it just sounds like the Barranco de Juan Lopez, doesn't it? Difficult to access. I think that's almost like a standard Guardia Civil statement. Whenever they have to get a stretcher somewhere to pick up, one of these dead bodies in a remote area, they always say steep area and difficult to access. But here we hear it again, difficult to access. Except they managed to access it within a few hours, it seems. Punta de Teno, if you want to look it up on a map, Punta de Teno. Has a lighthouse, and Noah informs me is actually quite a popular area for kayaking and snorkeling, I think, but it has very, very limited access. Yeah. Now, we know it's not Brandon from Burnley because Brandon's not 26 years old, but also it does state Familia Natural de esa zona, so it's a family native to that area. I think I read in a previous report from Buenavista del Norte. and with an apellido, a last name that is typical of that Buenavista area, Dorta. Yeah. So local family, local guy. Um, Investigación abierta. There is an open investigation, thank the Lord, open investigation to find to find out the facts and the cause of death. Now that's important because the first report I was sent by my other person on the ground in Tenerife said that it looked like, or Guardia Civil had said something about presumed I think they call it a precipitación voluntaria, which comes out in English as an awful translation, like a voluntary fall. Um, I guess we might say in English, suicide, plunged to his death, suicide. Now, that's what it said originally, but here in this latest one, it's saying all facts to be established, cause of death to be established. Will we ever find out? I don't know. The typical form of the Spanish press is to report this and then go silent. We never find out, But I'm just reporting what has been reported. Yes, obviously, don't think that the Brandon you might hear about in the press, who has fallen to his death in Tenerife, is the Brandon from Burnley. It is Brandon, natural de Buenavista del Norte, local guy. I mean, it is possible, entirely possible. This local guy, Brandon, 26 years old, life was not worth living. And he decided to, check out early morning yesterday. It's entirely possible. I mean, it's a very, very dark subject. And I do tend to make light of it, but I shouldn't, I know. But I don't know. Which way would you go if you decided you were going to end it all? I know it's an awful subject. I just couldn't I couldn't drown myself. I just could never do it. Throw myself off a height. I couldn't do it. Just I know I couldn't do it. Unless there was something that could send me to sleep and knock me out and never wake up. I'm not sure I could do that. It seems like that might be what Brandon did. Took a walk to the cliffs and leapt off, but I don't know. My gut sense tells me this has to be looked at very carefully because far too many young males seem to have died this way. Is it another accident? Is it a suicide? Or is something going on in the background in Buenavista del Norte? And Brandon said, I'm in trouble here. Don't know. Don't know. Let's leave it there. More to come later today, I hope. Hasta la vista. Adios. Hasta la próxima. See you next time. Adios.